In a galaxy far away, the Galactic Empire ruled with an iron fist. At the center of this empire was a cruel tyrant named Lord Zelthar. He sat on a dark throne surrounded by a team of cold-hearted advisors. The tyrant loved power and used fear to control everyone. Alien species across the galaxy lived in terror of his strength and ruthless ways. No one dared to challenge him, fearing what might happen if they did. On a small planet called Lyra, a young human child named Alex lived with their family. Lyra was a beautiful world, filled with green fields and bright flowers. But even here, the shadow of the tyrant could be felt. Many of the locals whispered stories about Lord Zelthar and his terrifying soldiers, known as the Iron Guard. The Iron Guard patrolled the streets, keeping the people in line with threats and violence. One sunny day, Alex and their family visited a nearby market. It was bustling with life. People traded fruits, crafts, and stories. Alex loved exploring the colorful stalls and watching the alien vendors. But today something felt different. The air was tense, and the cheerful chatter of the market was replaced by uneasy silence. As Alex wandered away from their parents, they saw a small crowd gathered around a public square. Curiosity got the better of them, and they rushed over to see what was happening. There, in the center, stood a group of aliens, their faces filled with fear and anger. They were protesting against the tyrant's rule, demanding freedom and respect. Alex's heart raced with excitement. Could this be the moment when people stood up to the tyrant? Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the square. The Iron Guard stormed in, their armor gleaming in the sunlight. They shouted at the crowd to disperse, their voices cold and commanding. The peaceful aliens froze, fear washing over them. Alex watched as the guards began to drag away those who dared to speak out. One brave alien tried to resist but was quickly overpowered and thrown to the ground. Alex felt a surge of anger. How could anyone be so cruel? The child thought of their own friends and family. What if the guards came for them? The scene in front of them was horrifying, and tears filled Alex's eyes. It wasn't just a market day anymore. It was a reminder of the darkness that loomed over their lives. When the chaos settled and the guards left with the captured protesters, the market returned to a heavy silence. People resumed their shopping, but their eyes were filled with fear and sadness. Alex could see it on their faces, hopelessness. This was not just a battle lost. It was a message from the tyrant that anyone who dared to resist would pay the price. Determined not to let fear win, Alex made a decision. They could not stand by and watch. The child ran back to their parents, who were still at the market, unaware of the chaos that had just unfolded. As they joined their family, Alex felt a fire burning inside them. They would not accept this world where the tyrant ruled without question. That night, as Alex lay in bed, they thought of the brave aliens they had seen. They wondered if it was possible to stand up against Lord Zelthar. Could a child like them make a difference? The thought of being brave filled their mind, pushing away the fear. With a newfound determination, Alex whispered to the stars outside their window, "I will fight for a better world." Little did they know, this promise would set them on a path of courage and adventure, one that would change the galaxy forever. The next morning, Alex woke up with a burning desire to make a change. The vision of the brave aliens standing up against the tyrant filled their mind. They knew they could not fight alone. Alex needed friends who shared their dream of freedom. With that thought, they decided to gather others who were willing to stand against Lord Zelthar. As Alex walked through the streets of Lyra, they looked for familiar faces. They first found Gina, a playful alien girl with bright green skin and sparkling eyes. Gina was known for her courage. She loved to tell stories of adventures, but even she had become quiet under the tyrant's rule.
"Gina!"
Alex called out, running up to her. "Did you see what happened at the market yesterday?" "Yes," Gina replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "It was scary. I wished I could have done something."
"Me too."
"But what if we could?" Alex's eyes sparkled with excitement. "What if we stood up together?"
"We can't let fear control us."
Gina's eyes widened. "You really think we can fight back?" "I believe we can, but we need more friends," Alex said firmly. "Will you help me?" Gina thought for a moment, then nodded.
"Yes!"
"Let's find others." The two friends set off, searching for anyone who might join their cause. They visited the homes of their fellow kids, spreading the word of rebellion. They found Rio, a tall boy with blue skin who was often quiet but wise. He had always been a good listener. Rio, we need you, Alex said, breathing heavily from their excitement. We want to stand up against the tyrant. Will you join us? Rio looked surprised. But how? We are just kids. We may be small, but we have big hearts. Together we can make a difference, Gina chimed in, her voice strong. Rio smiled, inspired by their passion. Okay, I'll help. But we need a plan. As the sun began to set, the trio gathered at an old tree in the park, a safe place to talk. They sat together and shared their fears, dreams, and ideas. With each passing moment, their resolve grew stronger. They talked about how to disrupt the tyrant's operations and inspire others to join them. Let's create a plan to sabotage one of the Iron Guard's supply stations, Alex suggested. If we can show everyone that we can fight back, more people will join us. I like it, Gina said, her eyes shining with determination. We can sneak in at night when the guards are less alert. The friends spent hours drawing maps and discussing tactics. They planned to use their knowledge of the streets and the cover of darkness to their advantage. As night fell, they felt a mix of fear and excitement. The next day, the group expanded. They found more kids who felt the same way. There was Mira, a brave alien girl with glowing eyes who loved to climb. There was also Liko, a clever boy who could make anything with his hands. Each new friend added a special skill to their team. Now they had a small army of brave kids ready to fight for freedom. They met every day, training and preparing for their mission. They practiced stealth and teamwork, learning how to move silently and communicate without speaking. Finally, the day of their first action arrived. The friends felt a mix of nerves and excitement. They gathered at the old tree, ready to put their plan into action. Are we really going to do this? Rio asked, looking at each friend. Yes, Alex said, feeling a surge of courage. We are not just kids. We are the future of our galaxy. Together we can make a change. With their hearts pounding, they set off into the night. The path was dark, but their spirits were bright. They were no longer just children. They were brave warriors ready to challenge the tyrant's rule. As they approached the supply station, they could see the faint lights flickering in the distance. The Iron Guard patrolled the area, but the children were determined. They moved quietly, ready to fight for their dream of freedom. Little did they know, this night would mark the beginning of their adventure, one that would change their lives and the fate of the galaxy forever. The night air was thick with tension as Alex and their friends approached the supply station. The plan was simple: sneak in, disrupt the operations, and leave before anyone noticed. But as they crept closer, a feeling of uncertainty crept into their hearts. Alex led the group, heart pounding in their chest. They stopped behind a large crate, peeking around to survey the area. The station was heavily guarded. Iron Guard soldiers patrolled in tight circles, their armor glinting under the dim lights. This is going to be tougher than I thought, Alex whispered, glancing at Gina, who nodded in agreement. Maybe we should rethink this, Rio suggested, his brow furrowed with worry.
No!
Gina said firmly. We've come this far.
We can do this!
With a deep breath, Alex took charge. We'll stick to the shadows. Follow my lead! They darted from crate to crate, moving like whispers through the night. Each step brought them closer to the station's main entrance. As they reached the door, Alex carefully pulled it open. To their surprise, the inside was filled with crates and supplies, but the atmosphere was eerie. It felt like a giant monster waiting to awaken. Quick! Let's start moving the supplies around, Mira urged. It will confuse them. The friends worked quickly, pulling boxes off shelves and tossing them onto the floor. They giggled softly, the thrill of rebellion filling the air. For a moment, it felt like they were playing a game, not risking their lives. But just as they were getting into the groove, a loud alarm blared through the station. Red lights flashed and the children froze, panic gripping their hearts. They've spotted us, Liko shouted. We need to get out of here. The sound of heavy footsteps echoed in the hall as Iron Guard soldiers rushed toward them. Alex's heart raced. Run! They yelled, leading the group back toward the exit. They sprinted through the station, fear pushing them faster than they thought possible. As they reached the door, Alex glanced back and saw the guards closing in. Hurry! They shouted, propelling themselves through the doorway just in time. Outside, the night sky was filled with stars, but there was no time to admire them. The friends dashed into the darkness, their hearts pounding as they ran through the streets of Lyra. They zigzagged through alleyways, using their knowledge of the city to escape the guards. Finally, they reached the safety of the old tree, panting and out of breath. They huddled together, listening for the sound of pursuing footsteps. After a few minutes, the echoes faded and they began to relax.
Did we really do that?
Gina asked, eyes wide with disbelief.
Yes, but we also drew attention,
Rio replied, his face serious. The tyrant will not take this lightly. Just then, a loud voice broke the night air. It was Lord Zelthar himself, speaking through a holographic broadcast that lit up the sky. His image flickered, the tyrant's face twisted with anger.
Citizens of Lyra!
You think you can challenge me? He boomed. A group of children? I will show you the true power of the Galactic Empire. Anyone who dares to resist will face my wrath. Fear washed over the friends as they listened. The tyrant's threats were terrifying, and they realized the risk they had taken.
What have we done?
Mira whispered, shaking.
We have awakened the beast,
Liko said, his voice trembling. Alex felt the weight of their decisions pressing down.
We can't give up now.
We started this fight, and we must see it through, they said, trying to sound brave.
But what if we get caught?
Gina asked, tears welling in her eyes.
We won't.
We have each other.
We must be stronger, Alex replied, a fire igniting within. We can't let fear control us.
The people of Lyra need us now more than ever. As the group gathered, they knew they had to change their approach. They had shaken the tyrant, but they also knew the danger was much greater now. They needed a new plan, one that would not just rely on bravery, but also on strategy. Determined to regroup and find a way to inspire others, the friends began to discuss their next steps. They knew they couldn't fight the tyrant alone. They needed to rally the people of Lyra to show them that they could stand up against fear. That night, as the stars twinkled above, they vowed to continue their fight. They would gather more allies and prepare for the battles to come. The war against the tyrant had just begun, and they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. After the narrow escape from the supply station, Alex and their friends knew they needed to change their strategy. The tyrant, Lord Zelthar, had sent a clear message he would not tolerate any defiance. But instead of feeling defeated, the group felt more determined than ever. They gathered in their secret meeting place, the old tree under the cover of night. The atmosphere was serious as they discussed their next move.
We need to gather more allies,
Alex said, pacing back and forth. If we can unite the people of Lyra, we can stand up against the tyrant together.
But how can we convince them?
Gina asked, looking worried. They are scared. They saw what happened when we fought back. Fear can only hold us for so long, Reo said thoughtfully. We need to show them that hope is stronger than fear. Mira, who had been quiet, spoke up. What if we organize a rally? We can gather everyone in the main square and show them we are not afraid.
We can share our plan!
Alex's eyes brightened.
That's a great idea. If we can get enough people together, we can inspire them to join our cause.
The friends spent the next few days spreading the word about the rally. They talked to everyone they met, sharing stories of their fight and encouraging them to stand up against the tyrant. Slowly, more and more people began to listen. Finally, the day of the rally arrived. Alex and their friends stood in the center of the main square, feeling a mix of excitement and fear. They had never spoken to such a large crowd before. The square filled with aliens of all shapes and colors, their eyes filled with curiosity. Many looked hesitant, unsure about what they were about to hear. Are you ready? Alex asked their friends, taking a deep breath.
We're with you,
Gina said, her voice filled with determination. As the crowd grew, Alex stepped forward, raising their voice.
Thank you all for coming. We are here to stand up against Lord Zelthar and the fear he spreads.
Whispers rippled through the crowd. Some looked scared, while others looked intrigued.
We know it is dangerous to defy him, Alex continued. But we cannot let fear control our lives. We must fight for our freedom.
A murmur of agreement rose from the crowd, growing louder.
Together we can create a better future. We can show the tyrant that we will not back down. Who will join us?
Suddenly, a brave alien stepped forward, a tall figure with bright blue skin.
I will stand with you, he shouted. I have suffered under the tyrant's rule for too long.
Cheers erupted from the crowd as more people began to step forward. One by one, they joined Alex and their friends, filling the square with voices united in hope. But just as the energy surged, a loud rumble echoed in the distance. The ground shook beneath them, and the sound of engines roared to life. From the shadows, a fleet of iron guard ships appeared in the sky, their dark shapes looming over the square. The tyrant had come to crush their rebellion. Fear rippled through the crowd as people gasped, but Alex raised their hand. "Don't be afraid! We are strong together. We have come this far, and we will not turn back now." The Iron Guard landed, soldiers pouring out, weapons drawn. The leader of the Iron Guard, a towering figure in black armor, stepped forward. "You dare defy Lord Zelthar? You are just children. You will pay for your insolence!" Alex stepped forward, heart racing but determined. "We are not just children. We are the future. We will not let you take our freedom." The crowd rallied behind Alex, their voices rising in a chorus of defiance. "We will not be silent. We will not be afraid." With a loud roar, the Iron Guard charged at them, but the people stood their ground. Alex's friends moved forward, ready to fight. The battle began, a clash of bravery and tyranny. The children fought alongside their new allies, using everything they had learned. They moved as a unit, their hearts united against a common enemy. Though the odds were against them, the spirit of the crowd shone bright. With every stand they took, the hope for freedom grew stronger. In that moment, Alex knew they were not alone. They were part of something bigger, a movement that could change the galaxy forever. As the fight raged on, they pushed forward, fueled by the courage of those around them. They would not give up. They would make their stand, no matter the cost. The battle raged on in the square, a chaotic mix of courage and fear. Alex and their friends fought with everything they had, their hearts pounding as they faced the Iron Guard. The air was thick with tension, but the spirit of the crowd filled them with strength. As the children stood shoulder to shoulder with their newfound allies, they pushed back against the soldiers. Alex spotted Gina dodging a guard, using her speed to outmaneuver him. Mira climbed on a nearby crate, shouting words of encouragement to the crowd. "Keep fighting! We are strong together," she called out, her voice ringing with hope. Just then, a group of older rebels joined the fight, bringing their experience to the battle. They moved in sync with the children, creating a wall of unity. Together, they were a force to be reckoned with. Lord Zelthar's voice echoed through the square, booming with anger. "You think you can defeat me with a ragtag group of misfits? I will crush you all!" But instead of feeling fear, the crowd roared back, "No more tyranny! No more fear!" Their voices united like a wave, crashing against the tyrant's threats. Alex felt a surge of energy. They pushed forward, leading their friends to where Lord Zelthar stood, surrounded by his guards. "We will not let you rule us any longer," Alex shouted, their voice steady despite the chaos around them. In response, Lord Zelthar raised his hand, and the Iron Guard charged, weapons ready. But the children, fueled by their newfound bravery, moved as one. They formed a protective line, standing firm against the oncoming soldiers. The battle was fierce. Blasts of energy filled the air, and the sound of metal clashing echoed in the square. But the crowd stood strong, driven by hope and determination. As the fight continued, Alex noticed that the tide was beginning to turn. The Iron Guard, once a fearsome force, started to falter against the united front of the rebels. The power of their shared dream was becoming a reality. With every fallen guard, the rebels grew bolder. Gina kicked one soldier away, and Mira tackled another, showing the strength of their teamwork. Rio and Liko worked together to disarm a guard, their clever tactics shining through. Finally, Alex found an opening. They dashed toward Lord Zelthar, determination blazing in their eyes. "This ends now," they declared, standing face to face with the tyrant. Zelthar's eyes widened with surprise. "You dare come to me, child," he sneered. "You will regret this." But Alex stood tall, their heart racing. "You have ruled through fear for too long. We will no longer be your puppets." With a swift movement, Alex grabbed a fallen weapon from the ground and pointed it at the tyrant. "Leave Lyra and never return." The crowd watched in awe, holding their breath as the confrontation reached its peak. Lord Zelthar's expression shifted from anger to uncertainty. He realized that the tide had turned against him. The once feared tyrant was now facing a united force of brave souls, willing to fight for their freedom. "Foolish children," he shouted, his voice trembling with rage. "You think you have won? I will return and I will have my revenge." But before he could retreat, the rebels surged forward, pushing him back. "Leave now or face the consequences," Alex shouted, their voice steady. With a final glare, Lord Zelthar turned and fled, his soldiers following in disarray. The crowd erupted in cheers, their voices filling the night sky. "We did it! We did it!" Gina shouted, tears of joy streaming down her face. Alex turned to their friends, heart swelling with pride. "We stood together and fought for what we believe in." "This is just the beginning!" As dawn broke over Lyra, the first rays of sunlight illuminated the square, casting a warm glow on the faces of the rebels. They had fought hard, and their victory marked the start of a new chapter for their world. The people of Lyra began to gather, embracing one another and sharing stories of courage. The fear that had once ruled their lives began to fade, replaced by a sense of hope and unity. Alex knew that challenges lay ahead, but they also knew they were not alone. Together they would rebuild their community and continue to stand against tyranny. With a smile, Alex looked at their friends in the crowd, knowing that they had ignited a spark of rebellion that would not easily be extinguished. They were ready to face whatever came next, together. As the sun rose higher in the sky, the children and their allies celebrated their victory, knowing they had taken the first step toward a brighter future. A new dawn had arrived for Lyra, one filled with hope, courage, and the promise of freedom.